Hi, this is Esther with Discover Your Origins. This is a Research with Me video, and we're returning to the Essieri descendants. And in this video, we're going to look at Willie Mae Campbell. Now, she is the daughter of Robert Jackson Campbell and Maddie Elizabeth Essieri. And we looked at those two in previous videos, and I wasn't going to focus on any of the children on camera because I was worried I'd run into living people, but I've already looked at this ahead of time and there's no living people, so we should be good. Anyway, Willie Mae Campbell. And let's just take a look at her vitals here. She was born the 22nd of February, 1898 in Tuscaloosa County. And she died the 1st of March, 1961 in Greensboro, Hale, Alabama. And when I first looked at her, we've got a high score here. We've got 11 sources and everything, I think, matches up. I did a little bit of cleanup work on her birth date. Again, that was didn't match up with the Find a Grave date. For whatever reason, this family has dates that don't align with records, and Find a Grave, they just don't match up. And so I'm going with official records like death certificates and that kind of thing. But anyway, updated her birth date, and I think I didn't need to update her death date or anything. That seemed to all be okay. But when we come down here, we can see that she was married twice. First to Louis Anthony Truitt in 1925. And it appears on Family Search that she has 3 children. We're going to take a little closer look at that. And then she married a second time in 1938 to Daniel Hansel Dickinson. Her first husband died in 1936, and then she remarries 2 years later. All right, so the 3 children for Willie Mae Campbell and Louis Anthony Truitt appear to be Louis Anthony Truitt, Louis Antley Truitt Jr., and ACL Truitt, a girl. The first child appears to have born and died in 1926. The second was born about 1927, and then the third born in 1928. And there's some things here that don't look quite right and made me question. So what do you think? And you can comment below if you think I'm heading in the right direction. But Louis Anthony and Louis Antley appear to possibly be the same person. And so we need to look at the source records attached to these children, and then this AC. There's something not right here either. And so we're going to take a closer look at some census records. So let's first go look at this one child here, Louis Anthony Truitt. And he says that the child was born the 4th of October, 1926 and died the 4th of October, 1926. No sources. Okay, so there's nothing here to know if any of this is correct. There's no sources there. Now, it's possible that they had a child that died and then they had another child that they gave the same name to, because Louis Anthony and Louis Antley appear to be basically the same names. And so I want to take a closer look and see if maybe these are duplicates. All right, so let's go look at the second child. Okay, so we've got the 24th of August, 1927. And that date is coming from both Find a Grave and the Social Security Numident files. Numident files tend to be somewhat reliable. They can have errors in them. But it says here, okay, here's Louis A. Truitt, Willie M. Campbell. Truitt is spelled Truette, but the parents seem to match up. The location matches. And here's the birth date, and we got a death date. So that seems to align. And then Find a Grave, we can go and look at it here. So we'll just go and take a quick look. Okay, so Louis Antley Truitt, we've got 24th of August, 1927, and then he died the 3rd of April, 1989. And Truitt is spelled that way on the headstone. Okay, and there's his mother, and he's got a spouse on there. So That seems to match up with what is here. It says there's a biography, but there's not really on this particular memorial. There's just a little bit of information about the parents. All right. We've got two sources for him attached. So we've got just the Find a Grave and the Numadent file. And then there's a collaboration note, and basically a person said, hey, this person seems to overlap with the other children. Like they're like these two are probably duplicates, and even maybe this third child, which is a girl. So let's go and look at AC here. All right, so we've got some record hints here which are weaker, and if you are interested in getting weaker hints on Family Search, I do recommend turning them on, because I've been finding things that are otherwise not provided as record hints are matches, and you can do that by going into your settings and turning on weaker hints. All right, so there's one source record here, and we can take a look at it. It's the 1930s census. So we go and look, it does say daughter, and here are the parents, L.A. Truitt and Willie Truitt. Okay, so let's take a look here at the actual image. The first child supposedly died, so he wouldn't be in this 1930s census. The second child was born in 1927, a boy, Louis Antley. He should be listed on here. And then we have this girl, AC. So let's look and see if we can find them. Here we go. Okay, here's L.A. Truitt, senior, head, Willie, wife, ACL, daughter. And it very clearly says daughter. And then Billy is a first cousin, and then AB Paris, maybe? Laborer. All right. So L.A. Truitt was 59. They got married, and Willie was 25. So they'd only been married a short time. She's only been married about 7 years to Louis. And so, and they've only got the one daughter. Let's see, he was a farmer. Yep, a farmer, General Farm. Okay, so the question here is, where is Louis Antley? He should be here. And then this daughter, ACL, she's not in any other records. I did do some work on this Willie Mae Campbell family in Ancestry. We'll go look here in a second. So here we have the 1930s census, and I think that's a second record hint for whatever reason. And then this L.A. Truitt Numadent file. So let's take a look at that. Okay, and this says it's a male, 24th of August, 1927. So why would we be getting a hint where the gender doesn't match? Let's just keep looking and investigating here. Now, Louis Anthony was married previously to Willie Mae. So let's look there. He was previously married to Alice Emily, and they had some children. Now, she died in 1922. And then he remarries to Willie Mae in 1925 and has supposedly 3 more children. 1928, and then he dies in 1936. He would have been 63 or so when this last child was born. And, well, that's totally possible. But the 1930s census, only one of these children shows, but it shows that this one, the second one, lives until 1989, and he should have been in that 1930 census, and he's not. So that's the mystery that we're trying to solve. Is this AC, who's listed in the 1930 census as a female, really Lewis Antley, a male? And that does happen from time to time in the census where gender is recorded incorrectly. And that happens for a variety of reasons. And so we do sometimes have to question what the document's telling us. And so how can we figure out what is correct? And I did go ahead and do a little bit more work on Willie Mae and Ancestry just to compare to see if maybe I could find something a little bit different. And this Lewis Antley Truitt, I don't have listed on my ancestry tree at this point in time because I built this off of census records and I just had the 1930 census that shows this ACL Truitt, a girl. So let's take a look at the 1940 census, because if Lewis is in that census, he should be 12 years old, and AC will be about 12 years old as well. So let's take a closer look and we'll look at the image. All right, here we go. So we've got Daniel, and this will be Dickinson. It got recorded as Dixon, Willie, and then L.A. Truitt. That would be Lewis Antley Truitt, stepson. So AC is not in the 1940 census, and that's probably one of the biggest pieces of evidence to suggest that AC and Lewis are the same person. And so let's go back and we'll take a look at the 1950 census. Now, in 1950, Lewis would be in his early 20s. And so, and we just have a granddaughter, and Lewis is not there anymore. So here's the question: is Lewis and AC the same person? And my recording went awry, and so you missed what I did here, but we'll just explain. AC and Lewis, I think, are the same person. I think that AC was recorded incorrectly in the 1930 census with the wrong gender, and that ended up causing there to be those extra profiles in Family Search. And you can see here on my ancestry tree that I also need to make that correction. What you missed on Family Search is me putting those two profiles together, AC and Lewis. And you can see here that AC is not on Family Search anymore. In order to merge them together, AC needed to have her gender changed to male, and then you could merge AC and Lewis together, which is what I did. And so now there's no longer an AC. The question then remains, is Lewis Anthony a duplicate as well? There doesn't seem to be any source records for it. There's no evidence of it, another child. And I think that there's a very high probability that it is a duplicate, but the possibility still exists. Somebody added those very specific dates, and so I'm just going to leave that hanging. I'm curious to hear what you think. Did I make the right decision? Do you think that was a mistake in the 1930 census? Should I not have merged those two things together? Should I just left them hanging as they were? I think in genealogy, sometimes you have to make a judgment call or decision based on the evidence that you have available to you at the time. And in this case, the evidence seemed to suggest that Lewis and AC were the same person because they don't exist together at any time. They're separate. And that seems to indicate that there's no overlap. If there was a brother and sister there, why aren't they ever together? And where they were appearing separately in place of each other, that made me think they were indeed a duplicate and that the 1930 census was wrong. But I'm curious to hear what you think. What would you do in this situation? Please comment below and start a conversation. This does happen from time to time on Family Search and also on your ancestry tree. And so, you just have to make a decision, and I'm curious to hear what you would do. I hope that was helpful, and we'll see you next time.